It's 1:30 here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and somewhere near Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is Car Sense Live for Tuesday, March 25th, with your host, me, Ray, wearing a beautiful colored collared shirt today, and my dear friend Brandon, who, well, can afford a hat but never can afford a collar. Um,
Always in a black t-shirt. Always in a black t-shirt. Ray, I want to show you something that's alarming to me. So this is basically what my car lot looks right now. Let's not look at the oil stains. Let's
Why?
forget about the oil stains that you can see. But I want you to notice that there's absolutely no cars. This morning, before 12, at lunchtime this morning, they had already sold 3 cars, and we only had 10 to sell going into today. So here's my worry. We're just now exiting tax time. Prices are elevated right now. I can't go and replenish my stock. And what I'm concerned about going forward for just the whole car market in general, and probably more specifically for the used car market, is that, okay, we have a few things that are worrisome that could be at play. We have tariffs. Maybe they're coming. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're on cars. Maybe they're on not. Who knows? But anyway, there's that fear that's plaguing the used car space and the new car space right now, that prices potentially will go up. We also have, just in our economy, depending on who you ask, recessionary fears right now. And that's going to cause people, whether or not it's real or not, that's going to cause people to spend less money. That's just what the psychology of it, that's what it means. So my worry right here, right now, as a small business owner in the used car space, is that, okay, there are going to be fewer transactions on the new car side, which means that there are going to be fewer trade-ins, which means a lot of these auctions are going to have fewer cars for me to buy. Used car prices are going to go up just because, not even because of the traditional seasonality of tax time, spring selling season, but we're even going to get this the bigger bump because the supply is going to shrink even further than what it is right now.
Well, I briefly looked at the Black Book data that came out today, and used vehicle prices for 2 to 8 year old used cars advanced at a faster pace this past week than what we would historically expect to see. So we know spring selling season that used car values tend to go up. They're going up slightly faster than what would be expected. That indicates that dealers are fearful, at least in my mind, that they have to buy now as opposed to waiting, because their fear is that if they wait, it's even going to get more elevated, which means that the cars you like to buy you're gonna go back in time to where what was a $1,500 car that you could buy will suddenly now become a $2,000 or a $2,500 car that you can buy, and the one that you could sell for $2,500 or $3,000, have to sell for $4,000. That doesn't bode well in reality, for just about anybody that I can think of.
And what I'm worried about is this is a similar situation that the used car market saw during COVID, during the worst of the worst, is where we have new car dealers. And the reason new car dealers weren't selling as much as we needed them to then is because they just didn't have the inventory. Now it's almost like it's a completely different scenario where new car dealers, we have tons and tons of inventory, tons and tons of days supply sitting on a lot of these new car dealers. But they're still not going to be able to sell enough through all the uncertainty, through the price the price increases. I know Audi just came out the other day and said that they were going to raise their prices when these tariffs come into play. BMW said they were going to eat the tariffs whenever they came out for at least a month.
Yeah.
Yep. Nissan said that they were probably going to be raising their MSRPs across the board. And I think Nissan is the worst brand in the world to do that. They're already struggling as much as they are right now. And just my worry is that because we have this lack of demand on the new car side, it's going to make my business very, very difficult to operate. And I am terrified to go back to the situation where I'm kicking over rocks to just find a few cars for us to be able to buy every single week. And then you throw in this seasonality effect that I'm dealing with right now. I'm out of cars.
Yeah.
Realistically, we have, I think, 7 or 8 cars right now sitting on my lot that I can actually sell. We bought, I think, 4 cars last week. We have 3 cars that are in recon and another 3 or 4 that are pretty much just junk. They're waiting on transmissions or something like that. So I'm, for all intents and purposes, I'm out of cars. I'm not going to be able to make money over the next month. And if this continues to be a theme and not just tax time seasonality for me of what I expect, and this continues on through the summer, my pockets are in trouble, because I'm going to be really hemorrhaging money for just the burn rate of what my business costs, because I'm not going to be able to make what it costs me to run my business if I can't find the cars.
Yeah, I mean, you everything that you do is predicated on being able to get inventory to begin with, and then be able to sell that inventory at a profit. But you have to stay within certain price point parameters for your customers. Well, if that becomes harder and harder to do, then you're going to have, the sad reality is, fewer opportunities in as to who you can sell cars to, because you have fewer cars to sell. I mean, if you started the day today with 10 cars, and by noon you had sold 30% of your inventory, that's pretty damn good, except you only got 7 cars left.
Right.
And the cost to replace the cars that you're selling it's much higher than the cars that you, when you bought the cars the last time. So yeah, it's got to be scary for you. I know yesterday, I didn't do the show. I wasn't feeling all that well. I had a little bit of a relapse on Sunday night, but I was feeling a little bit better yesterday afternoon. And I went to my local Ford and Mazda dealer because I wanted to look at a Mazda CX-30. They're choking on inventory. I mean, they got more Mazdas than they know what to do with. No shortage there. And, let's face it, that is not the position that most car dealers want to be in, where they have way, way more inventory than they do have customers for that inventory. We know, looking at the statistics, that Mazda's day supply has grown to, I don't know, I think it was about 110 or 112 days supply of cars that they have. The national average is like 86.
That's high. That's high right now.
It's the highest it's been in quite some time. And let's face it, the cost to carry that 86-day supply of cars is much higher today than it was 4 or 5 years ago, because interest rates are much higher today than they were 4 and 5 years ago. And truth be told, it doesn't take as many cars at the prices that they're at today for that to make up an 86-day supply. Because 4 years ago or 5 years ago, if there was an 86 or a 90-day supply of cars, it might have represented 3.5 million vehicles. Well, today, that 86-day supply of cars represents right around 3 million vehicles, which indicates to me that the damn cost of those vehicles has gone up dramatically. And so that is what's contributing to this added expense of having to carry that excess inventory. And there doesn't seem to be enough customers to go around. What do you do?
And what I find interesting is I think all these manufacturers now have flipped their thinking as far as getting away from the profit margin and making a lot more per vehicle. And they know that they got to play the volume game and just pound all this inventory down these dealer throats now. It was even the top brands right now that have the lowest day supply of inventory. you think Toyota just came out and said that, okay, dealers prepare because this year we're going to up our production. We're going to get you more vehicles. I think the quote was even build more, sell more is what
Mhm.
came out of Toyota. So if a brand like Toyota, where, I mean, Toyota makes Lexus has the lowest day supply of inventory across the whole market. They're at 30 days right now. If even that brand is coming out and saying, okay, we're going to start pumping more and they're going to start going and playing more of the volume game, and it's going to be a matter of where these dealerships also, they're not going to be able to make as much money per vehicle as they used to, and now they got to go back to, okay, maybe the actual front end sell of the vehicle is going to be the loss leader. They're going to have to make it up in F&I. They're going to have to make it up from the manufacturer. They're going to have to make it up from all the other monies that are coming from everywhere else in the profit centers of these dealerships, where, okay, the front end product is not going to be the thing anymore. But I think it's very telling for a company like Toyota to come out and say, okay, we're going to start pumping more vehicles to our dealerships.
And they're already the largest global manufacturer of vehicles, and yet their dealerships in this country are still operating on a very low day supply of cars. I know when Zach interviewed the GM of a Lexus dealer in Roswell, Georgia, they have an 11-day supply. 11-day supply, which is that's a third of a month. That's like nothing. And when you look at a number like that, you think to yourself, they couldn't build enough cars to ever get this inventory level back to a normal situation for these dealers. And we're going to build more so you can sell more. Well, I don't know what the number is that they need to build. I don't think they can. I don't think they can build enough to ever get themselves back to even half of what the average day supply of cars is for most manufacturers. I mean, Toyota's at, I think, 30 days. Lexus was at 29 days, and the national average is 86. They're less than half. But other mass market brands, they're sitting on 100+ day supply of cars. For a brand like Mazda to be sitting on 110, 112 day supply of cars, and they are relatively inexpensive automobiles. It just seems like that's counterintuitive in a world where the biggest complaint by most American consumers is affordability. Here's an affordable brand, and yet even their stuff is stacking up.
Yeah, and I know, like you're mentioning Mazda, but Ford, I know they just released that their dealers have 103-day supply of inventory on their lots. And this is just going back to what I said in the beginning. My worry for the used car market is, even though we have so much inventory on these dealer lots, if they're not moving them, then they're not getting trade-ins. And you can create this situation too, where it's kind of like a domino effect, where if these people can't afford to buy a new F-150, well, they're going to go and buy a used F-150. That can bolster the prices, even though they won't be close to a brand new one. They're still going to go up from where they are right now on the used side, and that goes all the way down through the whole market. And it's specifically, I mean, with me, if a lot of those mid-tier dealers that buy $5,000 to $10,000 vehicles, if they get priced out of the stuff that they're buying, they move down to my stuff. And just like you were saying earlier, that $1,500 car that I can buy right now, or even a couple weeks ago before we hit tax time, now it becomes a $2,000, $2,500 car, and then I have to sell that same car that I would regularly, my phone's going off like crazy, regularly sell for like $3,500, $4,000. Well, now it's got to be a $5,000, a $6,000 car, and it's just not worth it. So I don't know. I mean, and then you got to get into the aspect. I sell cars for cash, and then you get into the situation where, okay, people can only afford it if they get a loan on it.
And it's tough to get a loan on a lot of the cars that you would sell. Um,
Right.
yeah, it is. It could get very ugly very quickly. It really could, and I think. I mean, there are any number of things that could contribute to it. Um, the threat of tariffs is already contributing to it. Um, my suspicion, this is just a suspicion, but my suspicion is that the threat of tariffs in some cases might move some people up to do something sooner rather than later. Now, I will tell you that Zach and I received an email from a one of our viewers who is in the import export business, chemicals and plastics, and he has dealt with and continues to deal with tariffs all the time. And just as he explained it, he said the importer is the one that pays the tariff, and then that gets passed on to the ultimate consumer. What his suspicion would be if there is tariffs um, on specific cars that are coming from Canada or coming from Mexico, that the increased cost of those particular models that won't be reflected in the MSRPs totally. What they will do is they will spread that tariff cost throughout the entire model lineup so that a car that had no tariffs could see its MSRP go up slightly to help keep artificially keep the price lower of the vehicle that has had the huge tariff. So he's thinking from what he has seen in his businesses is that they'll just spread that tariff over everything, not just the vehicles that were impacted by the tariff. Well, if that's the case, then everything, if there are tariffs, everything ends up going up in price, not just the particular vehicles that were impacted. All vehicles become impacted. It instead of it being 25%, for that one particular vehicle that came in from Mexico, it might end up being 3% for every model that manufacturer sells, whether it was imported or not. So, if that's the case, everything's just going to get more expensive. And that if the stuff keeps getting more expensive, then I think ultimately you have even fewer people that will be in the market who feel as if they can participate in the market because there'll be fewer people that have the wherewithal to be able to do it. So if that slows down sales, that slows down trade-ins for you. So then the kind of vehicles you sell become harder and harder to source, which means when you can source them, you're going to have to pay too much. Lucky
Right.
you.
Yeah, and I get comments quite often saying, "Okay, well, there's inventory exploding everywhere. How are you having any kind of issues or anything like that?" Well, the way that the new car market and the used car market sometimes can work kind of inversely, where if the new car market is really slow, well, the demand for used cars could be really up, and then vice versa. If people have tons and tons of money, well, you can see a lot of consumers going to the new car market, and then you have a influx of supply that comes into the used car market because you have all these trade-ins. So you can actually have used car prices go down when you have velocity of money that's moving through the system. So for the used car market to be healthy and for prices to stay low and for us to have lots of transactions, we actually need more transactions to happen at the new car side for that to happen. So it's a very delicate little network that we run into. Yep.
And I think there's one other thing that you need and we need, and that is a certain degree of stability, a certain degree of certainty as to what is or isn't going to happen. Okay. Um, the the threat of saying something is going to happen and then not having it happen oftentimes paralyzes people from doing anything. So what makes people comfortable is stability and certainty. And when they don't feel a sense of certainty or stability, they tend to pull back on doing things. Because I am a perfect example of it, in the sense that everybody knows I hate living at the Jersey Shore in the winter. It's too damn cold. And everybody knows that I would like to either buy a place or rent a place in Las Vegas so that I can winter there. I don't feel comfortable committing to either a lease or a purchase and spending that money, not knowing with any real certainty as to what the future might hold. There are just, in my mind, too many questions, too many things that suggest instability. So if let's just say I was willing to spend $3,000 a month on an annual basis, so $36,000 to have an apartment in Las Vegas. Well, it's $36,000 I'm not willing to spend anymore or commit to spend anymore. There have to be other people like me, and that has to be impacting the rental market in Vegas and elsewhere. Uncertainty just takes people out of their comfort zones enough that they're afraid to commit to spending money, at least in my opinion.
So you were in the car business right before the last Great Recession, or the Great Recession that we had. So before that, did you feel like, before everything kind of hit the fan, did you see a lead up in sales? Could you tell a difference in the customers that were coming in?
Yes.
Could you tell a difference of the willingness of the
Yeah.
consumers to part with their money? Was that something you felt in the dealership?
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you, the salesman in me, I can't tell you how many times I said to customers when they said, I'm just not sure I want to commit to making that type of payment. And I used to say, the success or failure of our economy is based on you spending your money. If
What a sales pitch.
well, think about it. If all the news headlines are that we're going to enter into a recession, and people become fearful, and then they think twice about spending their money, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay.
Correct.
So as people pull back, you get closer and closer to that recession. So if you don't want to have the recession, encourage people to keep spending their damn money so you can keep the economy going. And I saw that for months and months and months leading up to the Great Recession. It was like they wanted to, but they weren't 100% sure. No, I just can't make myself do it. And lo and behold, what happened? It was the greatest recession since the Great Depression. And the same thing's happening to a degree today. I see Mark Miller thinks I was saying I'd spend $36,000 for 3 or 4 months. No, Mark, I was willing to spend $3,000 a month for 12 months so that I'd have the apartment for 12 months, not just for 3 or 4 months. But the point is that's $3,000 a month that is not going into the Las Vegas economy, because I am fearful, and I am not the only person in America today who has that same sense of fear.
And it feels like that's everywhere, and whether or not it's true or not, the feeling is reality, right?
Yes, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
the old Ray, when I was actively selling, I would have looked at myself. I said, damn it, it's incumbent upon you to help keep this economy going, Ray. Spend as much as you can. Okay. And today at almost 74, it's like, you got to protect your assets, Ray. Don't be spending unwisely today. So, the mentality changes. But literally, this, my kids know this. For months, I had talked about this coming winter. My goal was, I'm going to have an apartment in Las Vegas. I'm going to move there the middle of October. I'm going to stay there through the end of April, come back to the Jersey Shore of May. And realistically, I would be more of a full-time Nevadan than I would New Jerseyan, because I'd be spending 6.5 months in Vegas. Well, instead, I'm buying new sliding doors and not going anywhere. And I'm not the only one. And so by me not spending $3,000 a month in Vegas just for an apartment, still got to eat, damn it. So I'm not spending any additional money for food. I'm not spending any additional money at restaurants. I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm not going to the drugstore. There's $4,000 or $5,000 a month that could have been trickling into the Vegas economy just from this one person that isn't happening at all now. And I think that fear, to a certain degree, is rampant at the moment because there's just so much uncertainty.
And it's interesting how this can have I talk about the domino effect of used car buying and new car buying in the car market, but the same thing happens on a broader scale in the economy too, right? So people just like you, just like me, we see uncertainty in the market. We see prices potentially going up. We see other people potentially not spending in the future, whether or not that's true. If we think that, then maybe I'm going to be a little tighter on my money. Maybe I'm not going to go and make that purchase, just like you were saying that you want. And now we're just spending money on our needs. Well, if we stop spending money on our wants at a lot of these, I think companies like Apple, these big technology companies, then what do they have to do? Well, their balance sheets look a little bit worse. Their shareholders are not so happy. Well, they got to make cuts. People lose their jobs, and then those people, they can't spend any more money, and then it's just a big domino effect. And even though this was an imaginary thing that may have been in our heads to begin with, well, people lose real jobs, and then it becomes a real-time problem because of the perception that we have that the economy is bad. Maybe it's not, but the perception that we have causes us to make a economy that is bad because we follow up our thoughts and our fears with these actions.
Yeah, that perception ends up becoming reality. We help to create that reality because our perception is either correct or incorrect, either way. But if we stop spending, if individuals stop spending, then it ultimately impacts everything that goes on in the economy. Which is, let's face it, one of the reasons that credit is available to so many people in this country is to encourage people to spend the money they don't have, because that's what helps to keep the economy going. Okay? The growth of the economy isn't just based on what governments can spend. It's based on what consumers spend. And that's why there's so much credit. That's why there's so much credit that's available. It's to help grease the wheels of keeping that economy going. And as consumers pull back, it's as if somebody's hitting the damn emergency brake on a train, and it's slowing that train down. And I'm part of it, and I admit to being part of it. And I'm, for a curmudgeon, I'm normally a pretty optimistic person as far as how I'll spend my money, but not right now. I haven't bought a new wristwatch in months because I keep saying to myself, don't need to be spending the money. I know that's a damn good looking watch, but I, I don't need a 43rd watch. It's, and that was all discretionary income. Well, I am thinking along the lines of I'd like to keep that money instead. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that.
Well, another thing that can come into play too, we know that right now we're seeing the highest delinquency rates in the car market right now that we've ever seen.
Yes.
And I've also read, I don't know this to be fact, but I've read and I've heard that we're also either approaching or already there the highest delinquencies in credit card payments right now. And I mean that's another thing that can weigh on a lot of people's side. Like they're not going to go out and buy a brand new car when they're paying minimum payments and barely making those on their credit cards. I mean, this is a setup for something that's really, really bad. And just to tie this all back in, for my car dealership, I have to have inventory to be able to make money.
Yes.
And right now, they just sold 2 more cars. So that's why my phone was going off. My sales manager is on vacation right now, and so my poor sister, who is my title clerk, who also does sales, she has to call me to negotiate now, because usually he's over that. So she was trying to call my phone while I was in the middle of a thought. So if there was a thought earlier that didn't come out the right way, whatever I said, I don't remember what it was. But that's because we were in the middle of the negotiation during this episode. But see, we started 10 cars today. Now we're down to 5. And I can't replace them. Not right now.
So what do you do? What do you do?
And here's the thing: regularly during the year, like towards the middle of summer, I mean, if you haven't seen a lot of our videos, if you haven't heard me talk about my car lot, it's not like I have a little 10, 15 car lot. We like to keep 70, 80, 90 cars on our lot, and we're down to 5 cars. That's how bad it is right now. Before tax time started, we had over 150. So this is the time period now where probably a week from now, we would traditionally start to go in and buy everything because other car dealers wouldn't be able to move. But if we have this situation where a lot of consumers, because they don't have the money to buy more expensive cars, are being pushed down into the stuff that I'm buying, I'm just not going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do. Honestly, hopefully next week I'll have a solution for you, and I'll come on here and I'll say, okay, well, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. But right now I have zero plan.
You might want to look at the cheap EVs because nothing's depreciating faster.
Yeah, I got a Model 3 that's been sitting next to my building for the last 7 months, and I haven't started it. And both batteries are dead. So I have to go to Tesla to buy a 12-volt battery so I can charge the big freaking battery on it. So you can't charge the main battery unless the 12-volt battery has charge.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you learned that.
Yeah, and you can't get the 12-volt battery at like AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever. You have to go to Tesla, which the closest Tesla to me is about an hour away.
So it's a Tesla battery, a Tesla 12-volt battery.
Yeah, it looks just like a regular battery, but it's got this little vent hole on the side that you got to have.
What do they charge for a Tesla 12-volt battery?
It's normal. It's normal price. It's not anything more than regular. It's just the headache of having to go. Now, most Tesla owners, what they'll do is they would put it in their phone. They'll get a service thing. They'll pay the extra money for Tesla to come out and they'll replace it for it. But I mean, I can't do that out of principle, right? I'm not paying someone to change a battery for me. So I have to go and make the trip and buy the 12-volt battery from Tesla an hour away and then go back. I'm not having
They won't, if you pay for it, they won't ship it to you?
I haven't looked into that. I don't know the answer to that. Can you really ship batteries though to like individuals? I wouldn't think so.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know. This is a video for a different day. This is my current frustration right now. But no, used EVs will not work for my lot right now. One, they're not going to be cheap enough. I got to be $5,000 and under.
Yes.
And 2, dealing with the aggravation that I've had to deal with my Teslas and I have two of them, and they're both headaches right now. No, I do not want to deal with that for my business.
I understand.
That's only to make my personal life worse. That's all. That's not my business life.
I get it. I get it.
All right. Well, I think we've killed some time. We're just doing. We're changing how we do things. We used to do a 2.5 hour show and cut 2.5 hours, 2 hour show,
2 hours,
and cut them up into shorter videos for you guys. But no, you're getting exactly what you see right now for at least the time being. We're going to do a live show, and we're posting this thing, and I hope you like it better because it's less work for me.
And for me, because it means we only have to talk for 35 minutes instead of 2 hours.
Yeah. So please subscribe, like the video. Let us know if you made it to the end of this video, and comment and let us know how you like this new setup better. But hope you have a great rest of your week. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Ray, thank you for being here. Everybody else, for my wife, everybody else behind the scenes, thank you guys for being here.
Yep, and I hope you.